they've been sent and signed for concerning the placement of fill dirt on his property in the Washington District on tax map 12, parcel 91-2. And I know that you also spoke to Mr. Allen that night, Mr. President, and that you had had a conversation and he had agreed to remove the fill dirt based on your conversation. I again called him the following night and talked with him extensively, and he agreed that if I would meet with him, bring him a letter for him to sign, that he would come in compliance, that if I would give him 30 days to have the dirt removed with monitoring, that he would have it done, and that if he needed an extension, that he would come to the floodplain manager and ask for an extension before the 30 days expired. He all agreed to do that. Today, I went out to visit him again today on the site with the former floodplain manager, Guy Browning, and brought a letter to him that I had read to him over the phone that he said he was going to agree to. At about 4 o'clock this afternoon, he got in his truck mad, drove off, said he wasn't signing anything. Not those words, but he wasn't signing. I had, in the meantime, between the time of 3:15 and 4 o'clock, Mr. Browning and myself had both explained to him the previous issues that had transpired before I became the floodplain manager. I again explained to him that we were looking for solutions and to try to get this done as expeditiously as possible. Tried every which way possible to try to work with him. He said that it was his understanding that he did not have to remove the dirt, he just had to move it to the upper end of the property, and there's, I don't know how many loads of dirt are in there, but in some places the dirt is over 10 feet thick in that area. And plus he had a gas line that was running along the front of the property that was narrowing at best, and he wouldn't have enough room to put any fill dirt in there. He was again told that it was he was given 30 feet from the road to place that fill dirt in. Then the gas company intervened and said, no, you can't put that dirt on top of there. The bottom line is I tried every which way to try to get Mr. Perry to come into compliance again today. He refused, and so I bring that to your attention for however the commission would like to handle this going forward. I'll answer any questions or allow, in fact, if you would like to leave a letter that I prepared for him that he agreed to sign.
And then
he refused. Well, at the end, what it was, he wanted to know how much money I was willing, the county was willing to spend to help him remove the dirt. He also wanted to know why other neighbors had been able to do certain work and hadn't been cited. Wanted to know why the church down the road, just excuse me, a few other folks along the way had gotten away with what he wasn't able to get away with, basically. And I said I wasn't worried about that, that I was worried about his property. That's what it was about, his property, no one else's. And I told him that I expected, and the commission expected, that within 30 days a substantial work should be underway to remove that dirt. And I handed him the piece of paper to sign, and he refused and got in his truck and drove off.
all right, I think.
And he had promised Guy before about that he'd take care of it also.
Yes, many times, and in fact, there's a litany of actions that was taken before I became the floodplain manager that Mr. Browning had provided to him, which I have a copy here, if anyone wants to review that, which on several times during this he had agreed to come into compliance, and at every occasion that Mr. Browning went back to see whether he was in compliance or not, he had not. And he had promised that he would several times, and he has not. I thought today, based on what he told me and when we got there, we thought he was going to sign the agreement.
Well, I mean, that's
It
what he
ended
told
up.
me.
It ended up that he wasn't going to.
Well, I mean,
And,
he told me that he was going
and what he's done is in violation of the ordinance, is that correct?
It's in fact, Mr. Commissioner, it's in violation of the Lincoln County Floodplain Ordinance, Article 6, Section 6(1)(e). He has been given several opportunities to comply without, just with normal postal delivery, and then he was also given certified mail. which he signed for, and then made a phone call to acknowledge that he had received it, about the violation of the ordinance. And it doesn't seem that any type of action other than whatever other action the commission has at its disposal that will get him to comply. I actually told him, also, one other thing was that he wanted to know about the money issue, and I explained to him that it would probably be a whole lot less, the funding stream would be a whole lot easier on him if he did it himself, as opposed to having the county go through all the necessary actions to have it removed, and then the other actions that would follow it, such as court costs and such. And he still, at the end, refused to.
I think our action was to ask, to have it, see if we could talk to him and have it resolved. And I think the only alternative is, that we petition our prosecutor to seek an injunction against him. And I think that was a recommendation from our prosecutor. To remove the dirt or him being contempt of court.
And it's quite a lot of dirt to move. I mean, there's no way.
Hey, there's a prosecutor right there.
There-
How about that? I just looked up, and there you are.
There's a lot of dirt to move.
Okay, well then, I think that's what we need to do. We got a motion? All right, we have a second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Looks like we have a unanimous decision. All right, motion carries.
Would the commission like for me to write a statement up and have myself and Mr. Browning sign it based on our discussion with
Yes.
Mr. Perry today?
That'd be great, and give it to Mr. Gayhart, and then we will write this up, and we'll send this information to Mr. Gayhart. Okay?
Thank you.
Got that? Okay, next on our agenda, Lincoln PSD. We have two resignations of board members, one from Gary McMillan and one from Mike Eldridge. I move that we accept both resignations.
I say.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. That is unanimous. Motion carries. And I'd like to thank our prosecuting attorney, Mr. Gayhart, for taking the time to get this up.
Well, I thought about standing and taking a bow.
I was gonna standing ovation,
Allow ya.
but thanks, appreciate it.
That was good work.
It was good work. All right. Next on our list, we have Bercy Sims. Water projects.
We're gonna stay all night. I promise I'm not gonna read all this. You know, there's so much hullabaloo about this water project, that to start and get an understanding of where we are and how we got there, we have to go back. And if I could have probably 10 minutes, you give Rick more than 10 minutes.
Hey, we get Rick a lot.
Yeah,
Hey, wait,
I mean, you know,
I didn't take 10 minutes.
easily.
today, you're right.
That's what we compared them to.
So you could have 2.5.
This, we really have to start back to 96, when the design loan was approved for this project.
Alcohol would be a problem.
Alcoa Woodville, 711 customers. It was approved, here, the infrastructure, it was approved for $6,991,000. After it was approved, it was phased into 3 phases, Alcoa, Woodville, and Booker. No, Garrett's Bend, I'm sorry, Garrett's Bend, Alcoa, Garrett's Bend, Holly's Branch. They made the Garrett's Bend the number 1. Garrett's Bend was done under 97-344. No problem. It was approved, it was done. Then we turned the next century. The project became 2,558, which left the Alcoa, Bulger, Mud River. We have all of these documents through the Public Service Commission, where here was the CN case for the Garrett's Bend, Molly's Branch, all your public service orders. And then we have the funding of $3,450 from our RUS grant for $1,032,750. We have the RUS loan for $1,262,250. Another grant from ARC for $750,000, which made up the alcohol project.
That was the alcohol Garrett's Bend.
No, Garrett's Bend was already done. That was the first phase. Instead of making alcohol the first phase, they opted to do Garrett's Bend as phase one, which left the alcohol. Right. So then all we have here are the documents where alcohol was phased in to Island Creek District, and the Spurlocksville Mud River was phased in to Buckeye Ford. It's all turned in. There's all the documentation. You see why I didn't make copies of this, but Mr. President, you're getting it all.
All right.
Yeah. You have a RUS loan here and the FONSI. All the, if you go to your minutes here, all of those are fudged and I guess if I could best show you. Right here was the Buckeye Ford. This shows 256 customers, and it was for alcohol Bulger. Here was a public service order. It was under 04 GGG Alcohol Island Creek. You don't have to digest it all now because you're going to get it. Otherwise, I'm going to have a bonfire with it. But now let's backtrack. The stage was kind of set. Well, let me see. Let's backtrack to 97. We have been told for 10, 12 years that there was no source to supply us. But in 98, the Lincoln County Commission wrote a grant or a proposal, and West Virginia American Water supplied $731, $7,031 and $300.
What'd you say again?
$731,300 for West Virginia American Water, and ARC grant of $800,000 for Putnam County to Route 3. And that was done in conjunction. Hamlin wanted to upgrade their sewer. So they did, and the Lincoln County Commission, they did a water project at the same time. I think they actually got water in 96 or 97. And it was actually, and I guess I am feeling kind of dejected that we were misled for all those years when there was a tap by West Virginia American Water, who was the same people that's going to supply it now. It was there then, and all the documentation is here, and that was by our county commission to bring that. And here's all the information on that. And it was just a fluke that I found us, and going through the infrastructure council applications and that. And Mr. McGinn, I believe that you were instrumental in that, so you probably can cast some light on what happened here. And we agreed to turn over the operation and maintenance to provide under an agreement with West Virginia American Water,
That was when the airport was being discussed and built out there on Route 34. And West Virginia American was wanting to be able to have water access coming through there. So they put a new storage tank in, just inside actually at the end of Putnam County, coming into Lincoln County on Bud Mountain, or what it's called. But that was at the time of the airport, and it didn't function. And then they decided, since they had the water, they was gonna go ahead and run it, and do a west of Wales here in Hamlin,
Right.
and run the water across 34.
And for years, I understand the water was, just to keep it circulating, was just running out. So all this time, when Air Project was sitting there, could have been through. I guess I
Well,
fail
the
to
problem was,
understand
they
that.
never would fund the distance from Route 3 up to Griffithsville. There's where the blank was at. They had water at 34 came across, they came on into Hamlin. And but the distance from Route 3 there in 34 to Griffithsville, there was no water, and that didn't happen until a couple of years ago. And then they had water supply enough to go on and push the water, at least that's what the engineers told us, push water on into alcohol. But until then, it was not possible to do that. That's why we were working with Boone County, hoping that, because that's West Virginia American also, that they could come down Route 3, Boone County, and come in. And that was a project that was started, but never could get enough funding either, so it's been a tough one.
So then that water didn't actually come in because there's documentation in here that they had plenty of water to supply future customers and that I don't know.
I don't
can only
either. I mean,
surmise what I read.
I just know what happened.
Yeah. And, okay, let's just, fast forward then to, '09.
Really, what we thought at the time was that West Virginia American really wanted to take over all of our PSDs, be the water provider and do away with the local control. And we've had 2 or 3 meetings here along that line, and we never would agree to that as a commission because we felt like we wanted to keep the PSDs and operating on the local, involvement, but we still needed their water because there's no other source that could supply the amount that we needed to do that. So we went to West Hamlin, asked them what else they could do, and that's when they decided they put a tank on top of West Hamlin Hill and run water down 1 mile and back into that area. But they just couldn't supply enough to do anything else for us. So it's been tough to get the water.
So how long has West Virginia American owned Hamlin PSD?
Pardon me?
How long has West Virginia American owned the Hamlin PSD?
It's never been a water PSD here. They have a sewer PSD, but West Virginia American has always, as far as I know, has been in control of the Hamlin Water Project. They drill wells down in town.
Right.
Had a plant down there. And as far as I know, that's how it started.
Right,
If there was a PSD, it was always West Virginia American in this community.
Right, because there was a petition for water, because they did not supply water at the time, only Stewart, because the petition is in there to be a water provider at this time, so.
Yeah, as far as I know.
So I guess in '09, I had, this really just kind of seems real strange and bothers me that in '09, it appears that the stage was set to kind of take away air money from the, I'm very skeptical from for the alcohol project because the county commission did $100,000 under case number 09-0072. They did $100,000 under case number 09-073, and they said 350 customers for alcohol and 250 customers for Bulger, Mud River. So that's 500 customers. It was never, as you can see, alcohol was 256 right there, but it was probably close to that may have been 80% of the customer base, but never 600. That's 600 customers. And the permit for the alcohol project is pulled for 516 customers, and that's another reason that I have a big concern of what's going to happen with the USDA and that with their funding and that with the customer counts. Because here we have with the revisions in project number 1186, which was changed, which is our current project. And that's exactly when in early 2010 is when the revisions started happening with the counts and combining alcohol and Mud River. And how is this going to,
What you have to remember is that the PSD, the Lincoln PSD, its board and its director actually make those decisions, and they come to the county commission and submit their, whatever their proposals are. And part of the problem, as I remember, evolved around when we had a different manager at the at the Lincoln PSD, first name Terry. But I just think that there was where the decisions were made to change the direction, which that happened, no doubt, those directions changed. It was not a commission decision, it was a Lincoln PSD decision.
I know that would be the accountant that combines all of, that does the revisions and this and consolidates two projects. And so that is what, if you look at all the financials.
But they
the
can't do
little-
anything, the accountant can't, unless the Lincoln PSD votes to let that happen. I mean, they're in charge, that's why the commission puts members out there. Sometimes they can handle the job, and we've just been showing that sometimes we put people out there that can't do the job, so.
Well, I think when you go through these minutes and you go through all those things that I've been through, we find a lot of letters that is contradictory to all of our beliefs of how this should happen and why it should happen. And so I'm no expert, and I don't pretend to be, but I'm here to really to ask the commission to, we're one step away from our project going to the contractor, and that is accepting the bid. And as I am right here, when in the Lower Mud River, the Lincoln County Commission will afford full opportunity to a minority business enterprise to submit an interest in response to the request and will not discontinue against any interest, firm or individual, in the grounds of Race Creek, blah, blah, blah. The contract will be awarded to the responsible offer whose proposal is within the competitive range and determined to be most advantageous to the Commission's place and other factors considered. However, the Lincoln County Commission reserves the right to accept or reject any or all proposals. Charles S. McCann, President, Lincoln County Commission. So, based on that, I would like to see our project moved forward.
I would too.
Amen.
If it doesn't, there'll be something bad wrong. But I think it will. There's no reason why it should be.
So Versi, what do you,
I'm asking the commission to accept the bid and to, I see, how, pending Public Service Commission approval. Because they told me there is no reason, last week when I was in their office, they told me there was no reason our project shouldn't be under construction right now, because it's been approved, funded, technical review, it's been through the mill.
But the bid has not been put out to public.
Yeah, it's already been published on Thrasher's website, it hasn't, the low bid is already published.
Well, we haven't been presented
I do have a copy of that, but
that. I'd be
we're,
ready to support that 100%.
why don't we,
But should not, because the PSD over there bid it out?
yes.
Is that who bid it out? And then they would have to bring that to us.
We got a representative of Thrasher here. What you know about it, we don't
There,
know.
what did we, late last month, and there's always a 90-day bid hold to get all the financing settled before the contracts are signed. So we have 90 days to make sure all the funding and the contractor can get bonded, and, I mean, it's typical to have a 90-day bid hold, all projects do, so that's where we are. I mean, it's,
But I mean, if you needed something from this commission, you would have come to us with it.
absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
No, everything's still running on track the way it's
Okay.
supposed to.
I guess my concern is Jonathan sent a letter to the DEP and said the project is short, they need more money. Now I'm hearing it's not that, it's, what was the other story that I heard? Oh, there's a lawsuit pending with Triad, so what is the project? Our project's been funded, it's ready to go according to public service, there's no reason it shouldn't be under construction, yet they need more money, they're going to DEP. The other reason is there's a lawsuit pending with Triad, so that may hold it, that may keep it from going forward.
But until the bids are scrutinized and presented, we won't know where we got, need any additional money, would we not?
That's right, and that was the same exact question I asked, and he said it had been reevaluated because they suspected there was rock. Well, in every construction contract, there is a rock clause.
Well, I mean, I understand that.
Yeah, we've already received the lowest bidder.
Right. There's two
But that isn't-
contracts, they didn't bid your, one for the lines, one for the.
So now you're scrutinize those as far as what their project says they can do and what their bid says they can do, and giving them time to,
Yeah, we're still working on
Validate
some of the
everything.
financing issues, because there was an overrun.
What, I don't understand, what financing issues is there? Because there's a draft for the bond ready to be approved. I am very confused about this, and I think there's, because why would the public service?
This is my first project. I'm gonna be honest with you, I am not like superstar on the finances right now.
what the Lincoln VSB should do is put back the accountant that we used to have, so we could know what's going on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The problem I have right now is, it was 6 weeks, company was fired, our accountant from there, somebody else hired, and this commissioner, at least I didn't know anything about it, and I think we had the best in the state working on it. And all of a sudden, we don't have, and I feel uneasy as well as Percy does, as to, you know, what is going on, because with the Lincoln PSD and the way they've handled business, I'm very skeptical.
Well, I might have to go to court. It's a train wreck over there, it really is.
Well, we're, of course, Mr. President, he's got a plan.
Cunning plan.
Okay, thank you. I don't wanna be confrontational, but
No,
I don't
I
wanna
mean,
sit
no.
back and let
Those are pretty cool issues.
another project go like it did 12 years ago, and we're,
Well, I mean, I think what we could do is request the information from Thrasher. We could request the
you're gonna
information.
get the same thing you're gonna get in here, because it's all, I'm sure they got the same thing the Public Service Commission does, and it stamped final. I went there and got a copy of the final and took it to the PSD last week.
And
But it shows the final funding and that.
But the engineering company will not recommend us accept a bid until they make sure that everything is in order, financing, everything else. I mean, that's just their responsibility. They don't get paid either until everything gets taken care of, so it's their duty to do that. I mean,
Well, you know, another thing, and I don't mean to be confrontational, but they are getting paid because they've been doing drawdown on the DEP money since October.
Well, we've paid our money out of our part too, but that's part of it.